All right, guys. So the verdict for the Kim Potter trial is in. Now this trial involved the Minneapolis police officer Kim Potter, that shot and killed Daunte Wright, as he was resisting an arrest in an incident that took place outside of Minneapolis, in like a Minneapolis suburb or something like that. Now, this happened at a time when there was a whole lot of kind of social justice stuff going on with the Derek Chauvin trial happening. And it was a very, very kind of heated moment in this country. And this incident occurring at the time that it did kind of escalated things. Now, what happened in that incident, it seemed to me like the police officer, Miss Kim Potter, accidentally shot Daunte Wright again as he was resisting arrest, trying to get back into his car. They was trying to detain him, arrest him. He tried to get away. Kim Potter thought she grabbed a taser to try to subdue him. However, she accidentally grabbed a gun instead and ended up shooting him and ultimately killing him. Now, she was on trial for manslaughter on the first degree and the second degree, and I want you guys to take a look at some of the footage from that trial, and then I'll get into my opinion.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot him.
The matter of State of Minnesota versus Kimberly Potter, court file number 27 CR 21 7490. We, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty.
All right, guys, so I'm just going to be straight up with you, just off the cuff, okay? I believe that this was wrong. I believe that the jury came to the wrong decision. I think that this trial was political. And I just don't think that the criminal justice system got it right this time. I do believe that it had a streak of getting it right before when it came to these high profile trials. This one right here, I just think is wrong. I don't think it's really corrected anything. I think this, again, is just political. So with that being said, again, this is just my opinion. And this is the opinion of somebody that literally is just like all the rest of you guys, right? If you don't have a legal background. I'm just giving you my opinion. Right now, if you want a legal opinion, I recommend Recordtal Law and some of the people in LawTube that I do pay attention to, that I do respect, that I do watch when it comes to a lot of this high-profile trials, and I take the things that they say into consideration when I make these videos. So again, you should go to those guys if you want an actual real legal opinion. I don't have that. And I will never pretend like I'm an expert on something that I'm not an expert in. I'm just giving you my opinion, just like anybody on the street would give you their opinion on this, right? So just keep that in mind, okay? I'm just saying that. I'm not afraid to admit that. But I think that this is political. But with that being said, I'm going to tell you why, just my layman understanding of this, why I think that this is wrong and why I think she's actually not guilty. And I think that this should have been handled in civil court, right? I don't think this necessarily was criminal, as it is obvious to me that this was an accident, right? This is an accident. A police officer made an accident shooting somebody with a gun instead of a taser. She obviously tried to grab a taser when this person was resisting arrest. So let's read here about the statute of manslaughter in the first degree. And it says, whoever does any of the following is guilty of manslaughter in the first degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 15 years or to payment of a fine of not more than $30,000 or both. The first one, and these are the ones that I think really could possibly apply here, is the first and the second lines. Unintentionally causing the death of another person in the heat of passion provoked by such words or acts of another as would provoke a person to ordinarily self-control under like circumstances, provided that the crying of a child does not constitute provocation. All right, so this was not intentional, right? I think it's very obvious it wasn't intentional, so I don't think that really applies. The second one here violates section 609.224 and causes of the death of another or causes the death of another in committing or attempting to commit a misdemeanor or gross misdemeanor offense with such force and violence that death of or great bodily harm to any person was reasonably foreseeable, and murder in the first or second degree was not committed thereby. Again, I don't think this one applies either, because she's a police officer. She wasn't committing a misdemeanor as she was trying to arrest this person, and this person resisted arrest, and she ended up grabbing a gun when, again, it's obvious that she meant to grab her taser. So I really don't understand how the jury came to this decision. Right now, they apparently deliberated for over 4 days. There was reports that they may not be able to come to a decision. But again, I just don't really see this, right? I just don't really see where they're getting this from. But let's go to the second one. Second degree manslaughter. A person who causes death of another by any of the following means is guilty of manslaughter in the second degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 10 years or to payment of a fine of not more than $20,000 or both. One, by the person's culpable negligence, whereby the person creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another, or by shooting another with a firearm or other dangerous weapon as a result of negligently believing the other to be a deer or an animal, or by setting a spring gun, pitfall, deadfall, snare, and other dangerous weapon or device. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to this right here, right? This one is where I think like there's actual debate. But again, I really don't see this one either, because I think the key words here are culpable negligence, right? And consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another one. I think it's very clear that she did not do this consciously, right? That she did not consciously take a chance of causing death or great bodily harm to another, as it was obvious, again, that she made a mistake, right? She was trying to grab her taser. Oh, she thought she was doing something that I think would be a reasonable action for a law enforcement officer to do in a situation where somebody's trying to resist arrest and drive away. Now, what is the legal definition of culpable negligence? Well, if we read that here, it says recklessly acting without reasonable caution and putting another person at risk of injury or death. Now, in my opinion, I don't think that she was acting recklessly here. But I guess maybe you could argue that she was being reckless, right? I just think that she panicked. I think there's a difference between panicking and being reckless. But again, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I do know the definition of reckless is a person or their actions without thinking or caring about the consequences of an action. Okay, so I guess maybe you can argue that she wasn't thinking. I don't know, right? I mean, I won't necessarily say that she didn't care. She definitely cared about what she was doing at the time. Okay, so again, I don't know, man. I don't know. So again, that's just my layman's opinion, right, of why I don't think that she is guilty just based off my interpretation of reading the law. Now, again, I try to tell you, I'm not a lawyer, right? You can, refer to somebody else who actually has a law degree in regards to the explanation of those statutes, the laws, and how that stuff works, right? All of it seems like semantics to me. But with that being said, I mean, we got to talk about kind of the aftermath here and just some other things. Now, in regards to punishment, I feel this punishment is wrong. I feel like this is not really correcting anything. I feel like this is political, but that doesn't mean that she should not have been punished. Her punishment was losing her job. There's no police department in America that would hire somebody like Kim Potter after she did this, even if there were no criminal charges brought against her. Okay? And also the other way to punish her, right, for making a mistake is through civil court, which I think that's where this should have been handled. Okay? This is where this should have been handled, right? Mistakes are handled in civil court. I don't think that this was actually criminal in nature, right? I don't think it was criminal in nature. But again, in my opinion, again, this is something that, politics probably played a whole lot in it, okay? And I think that politics played a whole lot into the verdict of the Derek Chauvin trial as well, too. Okay, I don't think that he was necessarily guilty of second-degree murder. Definitely second-degree manslaughter, but not second-degree murder, in my opinion. And again, we're talking about Minneapolis here, the birthplace of the whole George Floyd thing. And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking that these jurors are probably thinking in the back of their minds that, hey, do we really want more protests and riots in our city? Okay, do we really want to go through the aftermath of a not guilty verdict for this woman after, this Daunte Wright incident caused a whole lot of protests and things like that when it happened at the time? I don't think a lot of these citizens want to go through that anymore, right? And sadly, we live in a time period where it is reasonable to assume that some of these juries can be influenced by outside circumstances, right? The threats of violence and protests coming from these woke revolutionaries on the left, okay? I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that. Again, especially in a place like Minneapolis where the whole George Floyd thing kind of started all this stuff, okay? So with that being said, I don't know why anybody in this country would want to be a police officer right now, okay? I don't know why you would think about signing up to be a police officer, going into it as a career. If you're currently a police officer, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people thinking about quitting. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of a mass exodus from law enforcement because of a lot of this stuff, right? We live in a time now where police officers and law enforcement are being demonized to no end, okay? And it's making it really hard for a lot of these guys to feel confident in doing their jobs. I mean, guys, I literally saw a video and I want to do a video on it. However, I'm just not sure, again, if YouTube is going to be okay with it. But I saw a video of a police officer chasing down this guy who was black, and the dude pulled out a gun on him. Okay, pulled out a gun on a police officer and pointed the gun at the police officer, said that he was going to shoot a police officer, and the police officer just ran away, right? He ran away. He didn't shoot the guy on the spot. And in my opinion, when you see that is a police officer that is afraid to defend himself in a situation where he obviously should be trying to defend himself, probably because of politics, right? And then it's a damn shame to even think about the idea that a police officer who has a gun pointed on him is not using appropriate force because, hey, he might be thinking about whether or not he wants to do time like Derek Chauvin and Kim Potter, right? Again, that's not a good situation for this country to be in regards to law enforcement, which again is why I think a lot of people in law enforcement are probably like, is this really worth it, right? Am I getting paid enough to do this, okay? Am I going to be protected if I have to take somebody's life in a situation like that? And in this situation, it was a mistake. Right? It was a mistake. She meant to grab a taser, not her gun. And it was obvious because she said taser, taser, taser after she shot him. And she fell down in tears because she realized that she made a mistake. And unfortunately, she's going to have to do time in the penitentiary because of this mistake. And she's not a criminal, right? Kim Potter is not the type of people we should be throwing in jail, okay? Now, again, there's some mistakes that do result in people losing their lives. I 100% get that, and those things should be punished. But her punishment was losing her job, like she rightfully should have. She should not be a law enforcement officer making a mistake like that. And also, civil court. That is the punishment. And that is punishment enough for her. And I think that her actually doing time, she's probably going to do 5 to 6 years from what I read. Again, it just don't feel right, man. It doesn't feel right at all. This doesn't feel like justice. This just feels like, a political witch hunt almost, right? It feels like one of those things where the criminal justice system is afraid of the mob. That's what it feels like to me. That's what it feels like. So again, man, with that being said, I disagree with the jury. I think that there's definitely some politics at play here. And I don't see why anybody in this country right now would want to be a police officer. And that's not going to put us in a good situation considering how we are lacking police officers around this country in a time where violence is surging. And a lot of these criminals are emboldened at this point. They really are. They're emboldened because people don't want to get into law enforcement, because there's pressure on these municipalities and these cities to decrease their budgets, to defund the police, to take officers off the street. I wouldn't want to be living in a liberal city right now. I would not want to live in a major liberal city in 2021. I just would not, right? And I think that the outcome of this trial, the verdict here, is going to have some negative consequences on law enforcement's confidence to do their job. And I think that's something that we're already seeing, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.